Thank you for inviting me to be a part of the Victim Assistance Academy. It's an honor to share some thoughts with a dedicated group like yourselves. You perform such essential services for Vermonters. I'd like to first congratulate all of you who work tirelessly to ensure the protection and well-being of crime victims around our state. I'm so very proud of the work you do every day and of the strides we've made together since the Victims of Crime Act was passed nearly 4 decades ago. I'm especially grateful for those of you attending this training for the first time and those who are new to the field. The importance of what you do cannot be overstated. All too often, we know the public hears about victims, but only when a crime is committed. We all know that victims live with the scars of these crimes for life. The support and the advocacy you provide is essential in helping these women, these men, and these children not only recover, but carry on with their lives. I remember when I was a Chittenden County State's Attorney, I saw firsthand the critical importance of supporting victims of crime. There was no Victims Assistance Fund back then. We didn't have transitional housing. There were no advocates to help victims wend their way through the court processes. I know when I was often with the police in a case of domestic violence at 3 in the morning, we had to scramble to find a place where the victims could go to be away from her abuser. Too often, the lack of options meant victims would be forced to return to dangerous situations. In fact, my wife Marcel and I helped fund as individuals some of the places where they could go. But we have come so far since then. Both as a prosecutor and during my time in Congress, I've always tried to put the needs of the most vulnerable ahead, as your work is going to call you to do. And over the years, I've been proud to support and lead efforts that first passed the Victims of Crime Act back in 1984, and the Violence Against Women Act of 1994, and the bill I wrote and steered into law in 2013 to strengthen and renew the Violence Against Women Act. And I was really glad to see that we again reauthorized the Violence Against Women Act just last month. Both laws have served as safety nets for those who really are facing some of the most challenging circumstances of their lives. I have protected and increased the resources authorized by these laws and these programs because I know the needs of victims continue to outsize what's available in resources. And we see that particularly in rural places like our own state of Vermont. The recently passed fiscal year 2022 appropriations bill, I made sure it provided critical support through direct assistance and programs offered by victim service providers to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, human trafficking, and other violent crimes. This legislation released $2.6 billion from the Crime Victims Fund, and $585 million, or almost 30% of it, is more than was allocated in the fiscal year previously. Now, as professionals who work with victims of crime, you have to respond to changing criminal patterns, and you have to address the specialized needs of victims. You have to respond to the increasing legal needs around housing and medical services, and immigration, and the financial consequences of crime. And as the criminal justice community becomes increasingly and appropriately focused on evidence-based practices which are grounded in scientific research, we're going to need more data regarding crime victims. Some of that data may be what you've helped collect. Now, you can be assured I'm just as committed today to the well-being of victims as I was back in my days as a prosecutor. And I'm pleased to know you share this passion. So thank you again for all that you do. We'll continue to work together.